I cannot welcome us into the country. It has to be done by the people of the land, that is the indigenous people. On your behalf, on our behalf, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands and waters where we live and work, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and future of the people of the land. And we support the reconciliation process of the people of this land.
Thanks, John. Okay, now Siva will lead us in music or chanting for Paul. Is it one or two music, Siva?
One.
Okay, thanks.
Life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul.
There.
Freedom from fear, purity of heart, constancy in sacred learning and contemplation, generosity, self-harmony, adoration, study of the scriptures, austerity, righteousness, non-violence, truth, freedom from anger, renunciation, serenity, aversion to fault fighting, sympathy for all beings, peace from greedy cravings, gentleness, modesty, steadiness, energy, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, a good will, freedom from pride. These are the treasures of the man who is born to heaven. Hindu scripture, Bhagavad Gita.
Robert.
Robert is
Oh, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Jewish scripture.
This is from the Zoroastrian scripture. Purity is for man, next to life, the greatest good. Let us embrace and propagate the good thoughts, good words, and good deeds that have been done and that will be done here and elsewhere, that we may be in the numbers of the good. Lord of broad vision, disclose to me for support the safeguards of your rule, those which are the reward for good thinking. Reveal to me by reason my virtuous pity, those conceptions in harmony with truth. The Zoroastrian scripture.
All that we are is the result of what we have taught. It is founded on our thought. It is made up of our thought. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him. Pain follows him as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. All that we are is the result of what we have taught. It is founded on our thought. It is made up of our thought. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him, like a shadow that never leaves him. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who labor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. For hatred does not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred ceases by love. This is an old rule from Buddhist scripture.
James, are you able to
Blessed
do it?
are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt hath lost its savour, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Christian scripture, Matthew 5:3-16.
Truly, the men who resign themselves to God, and the women who resign themselves, and the believing men and the believing women, and the devout men and devout women, and the men of truth and the women of truth, and the patient men and the patient women, and the humble men and the humble women, and the men who give alms and the women who give alms, and the men who fast and the women who fast, and the chaste man and the chaste women, and the men and the women who oft remember God. For them hath God prepared forgiveness and a rich recompense. Islamic scripture.
There is no paradise more wondrous for any soul than to be exposed to God's manifestation in its day, to hear his verses and believe in them, to attain his presence, which is not but the presence of God, to sail upon the sea of the heavenly kingdom of God, the kingdom of his good pleasure, and to partake of the choice fruits of the paradise of divine oneness. Babi scriptures.
O ye loved one of God, know ye that the world is even as a mirage rising over the sands, that the thirsty mistaketh for water. The wine of this world is but a vapor in the desert. pity and compassion, but toil and trouble, the repose of prophet, only weariness and sorrow. Abandon it to those who belong to you, and turn your faces unto the kingdom of your Lord, the all-merciful, that is grace and bounty, may cast their dawning splendors over you, and a heavenly table may be sent down for you, and your Lord may bless you and shower his riches upon you to gladden your bosoms and fill your hearts with bliss, to attract your minds and cleanse your souls and console your eyes. Baha'i scripture. I guess we got another music. Siva, you got another music, you said?
Thank you.
Oh Lord, I cry for peace. Purify my eyes to see it, and my mind to understand. Purify my heart to love it, and my memory to work for peace that comes from your love and compassion. Oh Lord, sustain my vision of peace, following your inspiration and the many ways that you reveal your presence and your love for all humanity, with your constant style in dialogue. You care for all. Make me, oh Lord, live in dialogue with you and rediscover the meaning of my life, moving in harmony with all of creation. Give me, oh Lord, the courage to live in dialogue in the midst of divisions and conflicts, and to build peace with all people of sincere hearts who believe in your love and compassion.
Okay, that was a really nice song, I think. And now it's Colin is going to lead us in a talk today. And I guess most of us know Colin for a while during this interfaith dialogues or meetings. And Colin has been actually a Baha'i member since he was from his young age, and he has been interested in and very passionate about interfaith dialogues. And he has been through a few various religions in his life. Like when he was at university, he has been through the Catholic college and met people from evangelical church, and his wife Jung and her family have sort of introduced Colin to Buddhism and Catholicism. And so he seems to be interested in interfaith, which is an interesting area to know, I think, when you know, come to know a lot of religions in your life. And he has been also interested in finding out what needed to interfaith dialogue. He considers himself to be a beginner, but I think he knows better than us. He's working for Baha'i Center, Colin?
Yeah, I work for the National Assembly at the Baha'i Temple, north of Sydney.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll be happy to hear you, and you're going to talk to us about aliens, how to meet them. So thank you.
Thank you, Marina. I'll try and share my screen and
To do that.
And I'm sure everyone has met just as many people from other religions. So, and really, well, I'm probably more of a beginner because my listening skills are mediocre and talking skills not so good. Where are we? How do I share? Here we are. So tonight we'll learn some tips and principles to help us talk to people about controversial subjects such as religion. However, this talk is not just about tips and techniques, it's about how we see each other. Do we see a friend or an alien? So how many aliens are there in this picture? And which one is the alien? Can you tell just by looking at the picture?
A picture of the people here, or
yeah, oh yes, they're all aliens on the right hand side. I'm talking about the yeah, anyway, so that's something to think about. So not long ago we described people from other countries and other planets as aliens. In fact, it's still in the Australian Constitution, and they're still debating who's an alien and who's not. And so at that time, we did not care that they looked different, they spoke their own language, they had exotic religions. And we could ignore them, and sometimes we could fight them. We did not need good personal relationships with aliens. But now the planet has shrunk, and our communities are diverse, even our families are diverse. So the aliens of the past are now our neighbours, our work colleagues, and even our family members. So this brings some challenges because we don't have thousands of years of getting along with people who are so different, especially different religions. So I'll just briefly begin the story of two challenges. Just making sure everyone's muted because there's a bit of feedback. So in my own neighbourhoods, first was a very kind, elderly, gentle, hospitable man in the local shopping centre, and his business included doing horoscopes and astrology. He was a practicing Catholic and also a Buddhist, and I greatly respected him. He's passed away now. But one day I was challenged because he told me he admired Hitler, and I felt myself getting upset. That's the first half of that story. The next one is a very likable family man. He's been to my house of worship. I've been to his, and with my family, we've been to his synagogue. We've collaborated in study groups and children's spiritual education. And we get on well. However, a few weeks ago, he promoted the anti-vaccination rally in Sydney, and I felt a bit disturbed by that. So I'll tell you later what happened. By the end of this presentation, I will remember 3 principles of interfaith dialogue, which you can practice next time you talk to someone whose beliefs seem strange or even wrong. So for the moment, I'll just name these 3 concepts: humility, trust, and empathy. What's the easiest way to change? So why has religious prejudice been difficult to overcome?
One writer claims that major religious moral codes can lead us to an us versus them group solidarity and mentality, which can dehumanize or demonize individuals outside their group as not fully human, or at least less worthy. And results can vary from mild discrimination to outright genocide. And a poll by The Guardian noted that 82% of British people believe that religion is socially divisive. And yet there is a more positive way to think about our exposure to different religions. Stephanie Dowrick is an interfaith minister at Pitt Street Uniting Church in Sydney. And she was quoted in a book called The Quiet Revolution. And she said, the reasons why this kind of questing and this kind of experience is emerging now is just so much to do with our historical moment. We're living in a global world. We're living in a multicultural world. We are immensely influenced by one another. It's one of the wonderful outflows of the globalization of human experience at this time. So the globalization of human experience, how do faiths build bridges with each other? So Dr. Sina Fazal describes three bridges: ethical, intellectual, and spiritual. So you can see here, the ethical bridge is cooperative social projects to learn to collaborate with one another on issues that none of us can solve alone. Then there's the intellectual bridge, theological dialogue, reconciling different representations of the ultimate, and the mystical spiritual bridge, to be drawn onward by the same experience of an outpoured heavenly love, the example of the mystics. I'd like to just share a couple of experiences. So when I lived and worked for 2 years on Norfolk Island, which is a small island in the Pacific Ocean, 1,600 kilometres from Sydney, I met the ministers of the Anglican, Uniting, Catholic and Seventh-day Adventist churches, and I had good friends in all of them, and I participated as much as I could. And here is an example of a difficult situation resolved by a cooperative social project, the ethical bridge. So some elders in the Seventh-day Adventist Church believed that the Catholic Pope was the Antichrist. And Father Harry, I never learned his last name, but he was the Catholic priest at the time, and he did not take offense at what the other church believed about his church. Rather, he saw the opportunity to have a bit of fun. So when it was Father Harry's turn to do the weekly church radio program, he just described himself as the Pope of Norfolk Island, and he called his car the Pope-mobile, and he got the number plate 666, which has some significance in the Bible, called the mark of the beast. Now, this sounds like a recipe for disaster, for interfaith disaster, and it could have been, but it wasn't, because the Catholic congregation was quite small and they could not afford a church organ. But the Seventh-day Adventists raised most of the funds to buy the Catholic Church a new organ. And so the churches coexisted in harmony on this little island, which is a good thing because it's only 5 kilometres by 8 kilometres there. It's not easy to escape. And it shows that deeds mean more than words in interfaith relations.
Interfaith about cheese. Very nice.
Now, the intellectual bridge, I have a nice story here as well. I have a friend who's a theologian. He's served in the Vatican. He's published many books about Jesus and the Bible. And with his permission, I've used some of his books in my interfaith dialogue courses because he has a broad spiritual and empathetic outlook on other religions. And we caught up with each other at a wedding a few years ago. And he told me that his latest book compares the New Testament with the Quran. And the Quran is the holy book of Islam. I read that book. I read my friend's book, and I told him that I disagreed with his conclusion that the Quran promotes violence. And he replied, yes, it does. And he pointed out that some things that I said were wrong. So I decided to educate myself on the subject as best I could. Took a couple of years of reading and thinking, but now I feel comfortable to continue that dialogue. So theological dialogue is the most fascinating area, and there are great writers and thinkers such as Hans Kung, John Hick, Montgomery Watt. But I just offer one thought, and that is in matters of theology and belief, each religion is internally reasonably straightforward and consistent as a consistent worldview. And it makes a lot of sense on its own. But when you compare and contrast, it can get very complicated. You can't just have a few meetings and resolve great problems. That kind of work needs personal research, needs time to think on your own, to write quietly and reflectively, express your views carefully, scholarly discourse, having your work published in peer-reviewed journals, and occasionally progress can be made slowly and steadily over decades. So I'm not saying that you and I can't engage in theological dialogue, but we have to be careful not to oversimplify or to ignore differences. And then there's the mystical spiritual bridge. Spiritual dialogue is a primary path to understanding other religions. Now, another story. I don't believe in reincarnation, but by mere coincidence, I was born within an hour or so of the passing of George Townsend. And Wikipedia says George Townsend was born in Ireland, and he was a well-known writer and Anglican clergyman who converted to the Baha'i faith at age 70. He represented the Baha'i community at the First World Congress of Faiths in 1936. And in that presentation, he said this: "By what diverse paths have mystics who had nothing in common save wholehearted servitude before the one loving God, by what diverse paths have they all alike attained the blessed presence?" So I almost wish I did believe in reincarnation, because then I could imagine myself inheriting the courage and the perception of George Townsend, because he could see this spiritual bridge. And sharing our prayers and sacred writings can enable us to cross this bridge. I had an experience of that in 1985. I was studying at the University of New South Wales, and there were 3 students who died when the car they were travelling in left the freeway and hit a tree near Goulburn. And one of these students was a Baha'i, another was a Buddhist, and the third was a Christian. And the 3 communities came together to organise an interfaith memorial service at the university. And no group felt any need to diminish another. All were drawn together by sadness and hope. The service was dignified and spiritual. In their prayers and readings, it was clear that they all spoke with one voice. There was unity between those present. Now, these bridges, ethical, intellectual, and spiritual, create shared experiences, but there are still difficulties. What sometimes happens when we have interfaith meetings? Here are 3 challenges you might find. From the Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace and World Affairs. The first challenge is lack of focus. The second challenge is when people feel that they need to water down or compromise their religious identity in order to fit in. And the third challenge is proselytizing, or attempting to convert others. I won't attempt to describe those, but let's go straight to some principles that address these challenges. Now, you may have seen the 10 principles which Siva put on the screen when we started. I've chosen 3 which seem most applicable for everyday life. The essential purpose of dialogue is to learn. Dialogue can only take place on the basis of mutual trust, and to truly understand another religion or ideology. And I've given those the headings: humility, mutual trust, and empathy, just to try and identify the virtue and help to remember it when the time comes that we need it. So, humility. The essential purpose of a dialogue is to learn, which entails change. At the very least, to learn that one's dialogue partner views the world differently is to effect a change in oneself. So that's principle number 1. And then principle number 7 is similar. Dialogue can only take place between equals, which means that partners learn from each other, peer to peer, and do not merely seek to teach one another. To be a learner is to be humble. So I have to subdue my prejudices and my ego while listening if I want to learn something. Now, this is a little exercise I used to do at the Yeranville Baha'i Centre of Learning in these dialogue classes. Imagine a classroom with 2 teachers. Imagine that by some improbable circumstance, each believes that the other has enrolled to be their student. But the student will not sit down and listen. The student thinks he or she knows better and interrupts the teacher. The teacher gets upset with the student. Of course, both get upset. That's what religious discussions sometimes look like. When they eventually realize that both are teachers, then they agree to take turns to listen, and they both start to enjoy the encounter. And if they are learning about religion and they are not arguing, then maybe God will be the teacher. Second one, mutual trust. Dialogue can only take place on the basis of mutual trust, because it is persons and not entire communities that enter into dialogue. It is essential for personal trust to be established. To encourage this, it is important that less controversial matters are discussed before dealing with the more controversial ones. Now, why does trust make a difference? I don't know if you've heard of Hugh Mackay. He's an Australian writer, and very, very nice to listen to and to read as well. He wrote, "People who feel insecure in a relationship are unlikely to be good listeners." His book is called "Why Don't People Listen?" And this is some of the best writing I've found about building trust. He wrote, "Insecurity is the great enemy of communication. When men and women feel insecure in their relationships with each other, the quality of their communication will inevitably suffer. Trust and security do not come easily. One useful strategy for building the security of a relationship is to make your general communication aim to keep the relationship alive. To regard every encounter as being a stepping stone to the next. To ensure that we will have made it easier to communicate again when next we meet. Try not to think of any communication encounter as an end in itself. Try to see it as a step in a journey or a stage in the process of making the channel of communication between us more open, more comfortable, and more secure. Argument, intimidation, insensitivity, or indifference are likely to erode the other person's confidence and reduce the sense of security in the relationship, making it even harder to communicate next time. Keep the door open, keep the flame burning, keep in touch." And the third is empathy. To truly understand another religion or ideology, one must try to experience it from within, which requires a passing over, even if momentarily, into another's religious or ideological experience. So this is different from collaborating on an activity or comprehending another's belief. It's more like sharing a feeling. Techniques and skills are not enough, in my opinion, to create true understanding or empathy or compassion. What is needed is love. The kind of love described by Jesus. To love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So when we do this and we see others are doing it as well, and we don't let prejudice obscure our vision, then we are, I believe, essentially entering into their religious experience. And this is very helpful for dialogue. So that was those three virtues. To humility, to be a learner, mutual trust, so that we can listen, and empathy, so that we can enter into another person's religious experience. So to conclude, here are two ways that humility, mutual trust, and empathy are likely to make interfaith dialogue more constructive. Firstly, there are new questions we might ask, and secondly, what might we find? So here are some questions we might ask with humility, mutual trust, and empathy. Just some examples. And they could be topics for interfaith dialogue. What universal principles may be found in all faiths, and what can we learn from each other's experiences applying them? In what ways does religion have a vital and constructive role to play in the life of humanity? How does religion address the challenging problems societies and nations face, as well as broader societal well-being? So in the next slide, I'll share something about the constructive role of religion. At this time in history, people are not turning with confidence to religion. Why is that? Well, I think it's because some people of religion can't even talk kindly to each other. But first I should finish those two stories which I started earlier about my neighbours. So what happened between my neighbours? Remember, one admired Hitler. I was upset with his views. The other promoted the recent anti-vaccination rally, and I was very uncomfortable with his views and his behaviour. So with the elderly gentleman, instead of ignoring and arguing, I asked him why, and he told me, because, he said, Hitler was a strong leader and created order in his society. Now, I was still upset, of course, and I still wanted to change his mind. That is, I wanted to teach him, but I refrained. At least now, because I asked him a question, I could understand a little bit about his reasoning, and I did not close the door to further discussion. And we remained very close until he eventually passed away. With the neighbourly family man, I knew that he already felt himself to be under attack because of his anti-vaccination views. If you look at the media, including social media, you will see a lot of people either debating or trying to educate people who don't trust scientists or officials, like my neighbour. But just like interfaith dialogue or political debate, it doesn't work. We need to be calm, listen, respect people's fears and build trust, and don't expect instant results. If the subject does come up again, which it's possible to see him quite frequently, then I have a strategy, and that is to acknowledge that it's not easy to trust authorities these days, and maybe to find some points of agreement. So what might we find with humility, mutual trust, and empathy? When I look into other belief systems with those trying to practice those qualities. Now, I've found that religion, when it is true to its founding principles and not clouded with superstition or exclusivism, is indispensable to me, like air, like water, like food. It sustains me, helps me grow, and it has a universal quality. Religion reaches to the roots of motivation. When it has been faithful to the spirit and example of the transcendent figures who gave the world its great belief systems, it has awakened in whole populations capacities to love, to forgive, to create, to dare greatly, to overcome prejudice, to sacrifice for the common good, and to discipline the impulses of the animal instinct. Now, this is a question which perhaps we think about it, or perhaps it's just there. Is my religious identity at risk by learning about other religions? Sometimes there's a fear involved, because we're not sure what we're dealing with. Maybe it's from the devil, or maybe it's wrong, or maybe I'll get convinced, or something like that. Now, Dr. Christopher Buck at an Interfaith conference a few months ago, this is on YouTube, he expressed his view, which appeals to me. He said, this is his words, "I am a Baha'i, but I have a broader identity as a world citizen, as a child of God, as a brother to you, spiritually and physically." So I think our broader identity, we're all members of humanity and children of God, and related to each other. Like that's what should bind us. And so if you remember, if you meet an alien, just remember to do these things. Have the humility to be a learner, build mutual trust, and be empathetic. Thank you. Have we worked out which one is the alien?
Thank you, Colin, for your...
Both of them aliens.
Both or neither? Yeah, I can't tell. Good answer, John.
The one that you are looking at now.
Neither. They're both friends.
Exactly, they're friends. They're not aliens anymore. All right, I'll unshare.
Thank you, Colin, for your presentation and giving us the three virtues about humility, mutual trust, and empathy. And I think it would be a good thing to talk, if we could talk about the three ways of questions we all have, I guess, isn't it? And I feel the main principle with all the religions is forgiveness, and love and forgiveness is the common thing in all the religions. I know it's in Christianity and in Muslim and even in Hinduism, but I'm not quite sure about Orthodox Church or Buddhism. Buddhism, they do have forgiveness, yes, and love. So I think that's one of the things. Is that right in saying, or? Yeah.
I think so, because the fact that we have these religions and we have these constructive movements, I think is a sign of God's love. At least in the beginning, when they're pure, they bring people together. That's my view. And it's interesting that one of the great advances in interfaith dialogue is that when a Muslim group reached out to the Christians with a document called A Common Word Between Us, and it was a very well-reasoned argument, but it boiled down to, we both believe in the two principles, love God with all your heart and love your neighbors. And a lot of Muslim leaders signed it, and a lot of Christian leaders signed it. So, I mean, it kind of seems obvious. You see it in the books, that's their fundamental beliefs, but to actually put it in a document and people recognize it means that they must have overcome a lot of prejudice to be able to do that.
Yeah, and if we love our neighbors, or love the other person, we will be forgiving them, isn't it? That's reality in life between a husband and wife, or a family, even with the children. If we love them, we forgive them. So it's the same thing which is in all the religions, I'm assuming.
Exactly. If we look at people with empathy, it's much easier to forgive, because most people have goodwill and they're just doing what they think is right.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from others?
Tracy was asking when was that document signed? Look, I think it was about 10 years ago, and I've got it on my website, a link to it, which I wasn't going to promote my website, but it's Interfaith, and it's colindibdin.com.
Colin, what was it?
COLINDIBDIN.
.com.
.com.
So your name and .com, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes. I just want to know if you have some light on this question, that how does the religion of today's, how does religion addresses challenging problems of society, which societies are facing problems at this time? How can religions can help?
Wow, that's a whole new topic. That's a good one.
That's a short.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be, if all the religions we all pray, that is the only way the society can face the problem. Whether it's you're a Christian or a Buddhist or a Baha'i believer or any religion, if you all pray for the better of the country, that's the way to serve, prevent the problems.
There's most of the peak interfaith movements will support each other when one religion is under attack in the media or in some way. They'll support each other. That's one kind of support. But it's a good worth discussing that question. I think if each religion believes it came to make the world better, then there must be something they can do to make the world better.
Can I please ask you a question, please?
Yes.
First of all, I'm talking about the old man that had his opinion that you are his Hitler. He might not understand or study or learn about Hitler, so he might just make a joke about that. He didn't know what he was talking about. So that's what my impression. Because just like if somebody said that I act like Paul McCartney, the musician, then I said, well, they different skill set, musical. So if somebody told me the same way, I would say he's joking or she's joking. So that's one thing. The second thing is to relate to your topic about aliens. Alien actually created by men, and alien will be like controlled by men and different from a human category. So we have to see it that way. One is human, one is alien or robot or whatever, UFO from other planets, and they don't have a spiritual power. I don't believe so, because they were like demonstrated in a Hollywood movie. But according to God will say, blessed are the poor in spirit, as theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So if we talk about division and conflict, alien was seen as spy flight, spy aliens, UFO, that the American people refuse to believe it, fiction science, invasion, robots, weapons, action, and they can use escape shuttle or spy flight to run away. But in our dialogue, in relation to religion dialogue, we need to talk to them. But it's, what I'm saying, one is a mechanical and or plastic, like if they use weapon, maybe plastic weapons. And one is a human, and it's very hard to dialogue. So therefore, they're two different species that that don't come together. So I don't know if you can guide me on that. And it is interesting subject anyway, but if people believe in Milky Way and stars and the moon and the sun, and then aliens and UFO and robots, mechanical things, no, fiction. It's scientific fiction, because if you write scientific fiction, then you know how the imagination can go very far. And here we talk about dialogue, we talk about love, peace, trust, unity, you know, like the compassion, mercy. And I don't think aliens can have mercy. Thank you. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point. The Constitution of America and Australia both use the term aliens, but I think they're talking about people from other countries. But good question, Neil. I think Tracy had a hand
I
up.
think Tracy got a question.
Anyway, I appreciated your talk, Colin. I really it's interesting, the point of having a broader view of ourselves, that, you know, I'm part of humanity and my religion is part of my identity, but fundamentally, you know, I'm part, my sense of self is that bigger picture. But just talking about having, you know, poor in spirit, if we recognize this, you know, like have that spiritual hunger, then when we see that someone else, even if they're in a different faith or have a different ideas than us, that there's something within them that I can inherit and enhance my spiritual life. You know, I think, you know, it sort of opens up the way that, but if we're all filled with our own selves that, oh, I don't need anything, my faith is enough, it's very hard to dialogue. But, you know, when you start dialoguing sincerely and you hear people's experiences, you think, wow, you know, I wonder what they are doing or thinking or feeling, or, you know, that they are having that type of experience.
Yeah,
anyway,
thank you.
I just had those thoughts as you were talking.
Thank you, Tracy. And that's true. When you meet someone, I mean, without, if you haven't thought about dialogue, then you might be thinking, well, I've got something and they need to hear it. But in reality, they may be far more advanced along the ethical bridge, the intellectual bridge, or the mystical bridge, and we can learn from them. And we won't know until we start talking.
Yeah, very true. So that's why this evening, Thursday night evening, is very valuable, because we're being exposed to new perspectives, new people, and you know, then we get a chance to, oh, that's what, you know, they're thinking, and whether it's one of those three, the ethical, the intellectual, or the mystical, could be a bit different in each one, you know.
Yeah, well, each talk that I've listened to has helped me in some way. Like when someone spoke about Buddhism and mindfulness, you know, I always thought, hang on, mindfulness doesn't make sense. You create a vacuum, it's just going to fill up. And I found out that you can fill it up. You fill it up with good things. So it's not, mindfulness isn't mindlessness.
Big difference.
Yeah, just a little jump in my understanding thanks to one of those talks.
Could I ask another question if there is not? I would like to know something about the reincarnation. Could you explain some?
Look, I know almost nothing, and I know some people believe it's a physical thing. From a Baha'i perspective, God can do anything, I would say, but probably I can't see why he would do that, but you'd really have to ask someone else who believes in it and has thought about it.
From the Christian view, there is no reincarnation. But I have heard from my young age that in Hinduism there is reincarnation. They have 7 or 9 reincarnations. That's my memory, but I could be wrong in the numbers. But also with Buddhism, Muslim, there's no reincarnation. But Siva might be right. Siva wants to say something. Yes, Siva.
Thank you.
Huh?
Sivalingam or?
No, you are the one, your hand is up.
Well, I wanted to say something else. That is, first of all, we have to appreciate if someone shows interest in an interfaith dialogue. That is a great step towards bringing understanding and unity. The other thing is that if we all understand, at least accept, fundamentally human being is a spiritual entity. That means we have a body, but also we have this, the spiritual or the soul. And the identity that Tracy was mentioning about is we identify with many things in this life. I will say I'm from Sri Lanka, or I'm a Baha'i, or I'm an engineer, or I'm a married man, all different kinds of identity. But for the soul, there's no identity. So if we approach another human being, looking at that aspect of the human being, that is the spirit, then we will have less of this misunderstanding or conflict. But I think the 3 things that Colin mentioned, humility, trust, and empathy. I think I learned that I will try and make use of these things in future. And also I request the friends here to, we are all collectively trying to learn. And if we practice these 3, then probably we will not have any misunderstanding. And for the reincarnation, though I am from the Hindu background, as a Hindu, I believed, because that's what I was taught. After becoming a Baha'i and understanding Baha'u'llah's writings, my perspective about that is that because in every religion, they say there is a life after this life. And that life depends on what we do in this life. And that much is common to all the religions. And I believe that statement or that concept was extrapolated or interpreted in different ways as they understood at that time. So if you do something bad, then your next life will be going to be bad. Therefore, a life that is not so good, they conceptualize as what they see in this life. So therefore they said, oh, you will be born as a lame or deaf or whatever it is, or you will be born as a cow or a crow or whatever it is. So I think the concept is there, every religion, how it was interpreted is different. That's my understanding. Thank you.
I think Zore wanted to say what reincarnation is, but as Hindus and Buddhists believe that after death we come back to this earth and that our life will be according to the things that we do, good or bad. So that is what the reincarnation, but that Buddhists and Hindus believe in.
I see Sivalingam has a hand up. It goes across a couple of screens, so it's a bit hard to see all the hands up.
Yeah, I'm talking about, Colin, the talk you gave regarding universal, every religion is, I think, universal, meaning it has some universal component in it. And every religion has a purpose. I think most of the religion, they have been educating mankind, and they also have been motivating people. Of course, every religion has challenging behavior. Right now, COVID-19, we can see every religion trying to, overcome the problem by serving mankind and overcoming the problem. All these lead to world peace and world problem being overcome by every religion. My religion is not alien. The other religion is alien, and we have to overcome to learn the other religion so that we can be in harmony with them. But in short, we are working towards world peace and world citizenship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sivalingam. That's a good point. And one of the biggest barriers to world peace at the moment is religious prejudice. All the other prejudices are losing credibility. If I was a racist or a nationalist or a sexist or something like that, I wouldn't have much credibility. But if I believe that my religion is the best, then that's what most people believe. So it's a kind of a barrier to unity when this idea that we have a privileged access to the truth.
And Ali, you got a question, Ali?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Colin, for your presentation. Really, the things that you raise in your presentation regarding trust, humility, and empathy, really, they're all valid things in all the religions. One of your questions you asked, the first one, what is the universal principle underlying every religion? Really, there are, if we compare all the major religions that we see, they all share common things. Spiritually, they have got things that are similar, and they have been universal throughout the history of religions, really, from the beginning till now. The things that differs, of course, on the social aspect, like the reincarnation we're talking about. So a religion believes in, and the other religion, they don't believe in the reincarnation. So these are the social aspects, things that can change in religion. But one of the things that as a Baha'i, we have been saying that the fundamental purpose of religion, of any religion, is to bring brotherhood, unity, concord, friendship. So, and if the religion becomes the cause of disunity, Abdul Baha says it's better not to have any, because that's not the whole purpose of this revelation, this divinely ordained revelations. They have come here to unite us, to bring us closer to each other. But if they want to really make us enemy of each other, to make us aliens to each other, then it's no good to have them. And that's maybe one of the argument of the people who talked about the fundamentalists and all these things. So there are so many things that are really universal in religion. And I suppose that's one of the things that in the Baha'i faith, we believe that if two persons from two different religions talking to each other and religions becomes a point of argument, it says leave that argument. We shouldn't argue about religion because after all, it brings disunity. If we argue about my point of view, your point of view, if we cannot agree on the things, it brings disunity. And better not to argue about it and change the subject and go to something else. So just a few comments I wanted to make. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. That's a good comment, because when there's arguing, it doesn't matter what you're arguing about. Nobody will remember the point you made. They'll just remember, oh, I had an argument with that person. And they'll remember it for a long time. But you're talking about the universal aspect of religion. The interfaith movement really started strongly about nearly 130 years ago with the World Parliament, first World Parliament of Religions. And the thing which brought the religions together was the idea that they did have something in common. And so, and that perhaps they were worshipping one God or receiving illumination from the same source. And there was a great hope for that movement. They thought, okay, finally all the religions will unite. But of course there's, well, this is a Baha'i view, and I quoted from that letter to the world's religious leaders in 2002, which, and in that letter it points out there's a contradiction between believing that we're all one and all, at the same time believing that that one is the true one and the others aren't. So that's kind of been hampering the whole interfaith movement for as long as it existed.
Yeah, I remember that statement in 2002. I know where we used to live in Wagga Wagga, I know we presented that statement to many religious leaders, just for the sake of bringing them together. It's not just to make it clear that the purpose of religion is to bring people together, not to divide us.
Yeah. I see Asim has a hand up. Is it Marina? Is it okay if I see a hand up?
Yeah, go ahead with Asim. Yes. Asim?
Okay, sorry. Hi guys. Colin, good speech. Good material you presented. So that's thank you very much for that. Religious. I'm glad people are sharing, and just thought I better share something as well. Sorry, my mic keeps slipping. In my opinion, religious has two major components. One thing resolve all our questions, and what cannot be resolved, we assume, and that is a religious. So there is a God, there's a carnation, that's how things started, that's how things gonna end, because we don't know the answer. Humanity doesn't give you the answer of that. So that part of the religious is common in every religious, because nobody knows the answer of those questions. The problem normally comes with the second part of the religious, when we as a human start using the religious commands or guidelines, which is prophets, which were again humans, dictated or got in books forms or rules form, and we start dictating others people's life using those rules. That's where normally the problem comes, because other books or other sayings or other beliefs or other theories have different way of dealing with the worldly things we do day to day, kind of things, which is very much like eating, marriages, how to bury when we die, how to interact with the people. So I don't think it's ever gonna be one solution for it, because that's how we human have been created, to have differences. While we have a good common things, we also have difference, and the difference is also very important, because difference is the one which maintains our curiosity. Difference is the one which maintains our learning capabilities and other things as well. I think the only problem is when we start enforcing our differences or our beliefs or our guidelines of doing things on others. I think if we don't do that, then all religions are beautiful.
Perfect.
That's it. Just
I agree. Thank you, Sim. And that's why the interfaith movement is really an enjoyable thing to be part of. I'm talking about tonight because there's unity in diversity, diversity of opinion, diversity of beliefs, and they're not letting us be disunited, because our diversity is the unifying aspect of what we're doing, and learning how to communicate. That's the more important thing. And the diversity is like a garden. It just makes it more attractive.
Yep.
Thank you, Bharati.
I think people have been martyred. That's why we talk about martyrdom in the Bible. So many people got killed because, you know, their controller had different ideas about religion, especially in the old days in the movies. You see Rome, they execute people because of different beliefs in Jesus Christ, and they got fed to the lions. So if we go back to the history, then you see in the old days, the controller will say, no, you have to believe my religion. That's why I will feed you to the lions. So whether you want to live or you want to die. So we have to go a bit further. That's why when I'm saying aliens have no spirit, that's what I was talking about. Just based on a Hollywood movie, mean another fiction anyway. I don't know whether it's real or not, because I wasn't there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point you made about whether force, you can convert someone by force. I mean, outwardly they might say, yes, I believe, because they don't want to get hurt. But it's not a real conversion, because as soon as the force is not applied anymore, they'll go back to their original, to their real belief. So that's not what conversion, you know, people change has to be by believing, by conscience. I saw Siva, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on what Sim was mentioning, because it's very interesting that he said that there are two aspects of these religions, and one is the unknowable God and this creation, to which the answer is very difficult to find. And the other aspect is that about among the family and marriage and how to pray and things like that. And he said that trying to enforce those things on others is the one that is causing the conflict. So I completely agree with him, and maybe it make me to think in what way I am imposing on others my ideas of these things, how should be a marriage. So I should thank Azim for reminding me that what I should try to refrain from. Yes. Thank you.
There is one thing, Colin, if I may. There is a very a movie came some time back called Lion King, And many of the people with the children must have seen this movie. It was a very, very famous movie of his time. But in that movie, the lion is the king of the jungle. So he's the emperor. He's the one who makes the decision. So one day he takes his son for a walk and he take him to up on the cliff and he showed him around and he says, son, everything what you see is in our empire. So son got excited and he said, wow, it's mine. When you gone, it's gonna be mine. He said, yes, it's gonna be yours. And he says, oh, so dad, I can kill anyone. I can eat anyone. I can do whatever I want. So the answer in the movie, which I really like it, no religious talks about it, but that movie answer was from the father king to the son. Yes, son, you can do that, but with a balance of maintaining the equality or sort of thing. So we have to kill. We have to kill in some way or form. Human has to kill. That is in nature. That's how body is being created. But killing excess, killing for no reason, killing for pleasure, killing for religious, that's wrong. So if somebody do wrong things, if somebody goes and kill a child, majority of us humans normally okay to punish him and kill him, or whatever the punishment is. So killing is inside human, but some people genetically are very aggressive and very forceful. And if unfortunately they get the power, like we were saying in old days, it's not old days, in today's as well. Any genetically imbalanced person, if he or she gets the power, doesn't matter what religious the person is from, or doesn't matter what caste or system is from, that man or that woman using the extra power will disturb the human system. And we just have to open to see when it's happening. If it's happening, I hope I'm not there.
Yeah, no, that's a great topic. That would be a whole session about how power can be used or restrained. John?
Yes, I want to say something else, but I want to first respond to our friend Asim. I don't believe in killing in that way. I don't think human beings were created with that. Particularly at this particular point of history, last 2 days, the whole world is shaken up by what's happening in Afghanistan. And the one big fear is killing of those people who are not like them, or even among them within the religious circle. If we don't follow the Sharia rule, that's what they said. We will do all the right things, but within Sharia rule. So, and the killings, I got a video now, which happened a long time ago in another place, maybe with ISIS. A woman was killed. All about 20-30 men with their mobile phones taking a picture of the woman being intimidated and forced to bend down. And then after a 1-minute lecture, the other person put a bullet into her neck and she was killed in front of all the people. And it is all over now, and it will come back. This type of killing will come out, and it will disturb a lot of people, not only Muslims, but the whole world. So killing is something that I don't believe in capital punishment either. If someone does something wrong, is for killing or put a person on gallows. I think we are becoming very primitive in our thinking in that way. So Asim would have had another thing in mind when he said, but the way that I understood, I was a little bit worried about that. But what I really wanted to say is that you were talking about alien. That sort of kept me thinking, because in the Old Testament, we actually say uh, uh, Jewish scripture. It's not Jewish scripture. It is the Old Testament. It's about the Hebrew people's life. It's about Israel or Hebrews history. So, and for Christians, it is Old Testament, which is fulfilled, we believe, in the New Testament. So the alien is a person who doesn't live in the land that belongs to one people. So another person who comes there, this is our land, and the other person who comes in becomes an alien. So and Israel were warned, once you were alien too, because they were aliens in Canaan. So the alien, it's sort of, swaps either way. You can be an alien, then you can take over another land, and you become the owners of that land. This happened in Australia. So the alien is a person. Land is a place where religion is built. In the Old Testament, we find religion, faith, and land go together. The whole story of from Adam to Abraham to all the promises about the land. That's why Israel is ruling over or giving a hard time to Palestinians. So the land is very important to religions. Even ISIS is aiming at that, and Afghans now facing with the people with the arms have claiming that that land belongs to them, because that is the land is the place of religion. So I want to just mention that. But in respect to the interfaith, I'm for it, and I was drenched in it in a way. So I come from a Christian spirituality group, but one of the things I promoted was interfaith spirituality retreat, and organized it with the help of an Aboriginal lecturer. And we did it, and all the religions came together in North Parramatta. It was one of the uplifting time and eye-opening time, and it's like everyone wanted to embrace the other, physically embrace the other, so, because we were entering into their faith and their understanding, and we went with the open mind, not with the fear that an alien will have. Alien is a stranger. Stranger is someone, is an enemy. So you fear the enemy, but here you don't think that way. You actually come with an open mind. So we really sort of, even every religious background did a little bit of ritual as well to help us understand why they are doing it. And one another word that I came to my mind, Colin, was respect, along with humility, mutual trust, and empathy. Empathy is a fantastic word to, you enter into. It's not sympathy. Sympathy is you stand apart and say, I'm sorry, you are going through this. But empathy is step into their shoes and experience it, and then share your feelings toward the other. So that is very, very touching. Even humility is one of the virtues of any, it should be any religion. Christianity, of course, I come from. It's very subtle, because I can be proud of my humility. I'm a very humble person, we can say. Immediately we lose that very, very sort of thing that we are trying to sort of promote or say that we are. Yes. So so along with that, I'll say respect is one of those things, and the other thing I'll stop with that. A few things that came up. The question that I'm going to pose is Baha'i faith. The Baha'i faith, the purpose is to eventually find peace and unity as one human race, because even with dialogue, the bottom line is we come as human beings and talk about our religious journeys or faith statements and rituals and whatever. But it's Baha'i faith, using interfaith as one of the tools, as reaching out to that final coming together. I mean, I take it as, like Azim said, diverse from what Azim said. God has created us differently, so we have to find unity in that diversity in a multicultural, multi-religious situation. So, is interfaith a very integral part of the methodology or the way that we are leading the people towards that oneness? Is the question.
My understanding is no, it's not a core activity of the Baha'i faith. Our core activities are in the neighborhood with community building, and that's doesn't matter what religion you are. But interfaith is still an important activity for building bridges, for learning about others. And one of the rules that the National Spiritual Assembly wrote to all the local spiritual assemblies, saying it's not for trying to convert people.
So it's living with strangers.
Yeah, or making friends, making new friends. And yeah, but I appreciate what you just said about that interfaith meeting. I think you said in Parramatta with Indigenous people. Yeah, and that's possible because there's some physical security. I mean, this gets back to the idea of people want to kill each other. I assume was talking about killing people, not just killing bacteria or viruses. But what I've realized is that, people say we'll never have world unity because people can't cooperate, they won't put down their guns, but it's already happened. We've seen it. If I live in Bayside, Randwick is just over the hill. If they had their own army and we had our own army, I would be very frightened of how big their guns were. I wouldn't feel secure, and I wouldn't have an interfaith meeting with them. So it shows that people can use their reason and say, let's just have a collective security and put down our guns and just give them to the police.
I think it's also important. I think the good purpose of this discussion is that everybody should remain what they think. But like I said, I think three areas: humanity, religious of unknown, and religious of humanly doing things. What I'm feeling you guys talking about killing in the category of the third one, humanly doing things, and I was talking about killing in the humanity section. Is the ingredient inside the human which has this thing, and religious teaches us to control it. So we can't deny it doesn't exist. It does exist. Religious gave us a good practice to control it. And humanly society, if the religious is not able to control it, then the humanly society, which is the third part I was talking about, makes the law to control it. So those and control only come in place when you have got a problem. If you don't have a problem, you don't need to control. So I was talking about, as I giving the example of the kids movie, Lucky, it's inside, it's the natural thing. But with our good practices, with our good religious beliefs, with our good neighborhood concepts, we control it or we try to control it. So what John and Colin, you guys are talking about is true. And however you can say it is wrong. Anybody do it, it is wrong. But wrong do happen. So we can't deny the wrong. We have to accept the wrong and then try to fix it, try to mitigate it, try to resolve it. However we can do it by, that's how God sent different prophets, because each time one came, he tried to fix it. Some problem got fixed. Over the time, it got changed again. Then another prophet came. He tried to fix it. Then another. And it's going to keep going on, because the good thing is what this group does. Keep talking. Because sometimes I could be having a wrong opinion or wrong understanding of something, and until I don't talk and don't give space to others to share the way he or she thinks, I'm not going to understand. So I could be, well, until I express, you're not going to understand. So all my point was, or is, healing is inside the human, not inside the society or the religious. Then some people who have more of genetically problem or doing things, as soon as they get the power. So what's happening in all those couple of places we give an example, they are the genetical, that kind of a people who got the power and misusing it. So no, they're absolutely doing wrong. Anybody do wrong is wrong. My strongly believe is wrong, even if my father do it. But how we control it, that's the law. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So sometimes when we humanly start making the law, then I could have a different, let's make it more softer. My or yours or anybody's 3 sisters cook one curry dish or one rice dish. They all put their best ingredients and efforts, but every dish has a different taste. And every nice cooking lady has proud on it. But I cannot like all of them, or nobody can like all of them. So if you like it, doesn't mean you're saying the other 2 did not put the nice efforts. They did. And we just have to appreciate the efforts people are putting in. So what you guys are doing here, I really appreciate. This is a great thing. Listening to the other views, you don't have to agree with them.
Yeah, and I think this is a
but
good
at
example.
Least we just should learn which problems sit at what place. One is a humanitarian problem, which is genetically inside. Hunger is a human problem. It's not a religious problem. It's not a society problem. Marrying or liking other male or female sex is a natural problem. It's not a religious problem. But religious has given us guidelines to how to better control it and allow it to in the society to happen. But at least religious did a great thing, accepted it. Yep, it's a natural thing. We can't stop it, but what we can do, we can make laws and society, cultural, to in better humanly way control it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, Asim. And that would be probably an excellent talk you could give one day, because then we could really try to understand the problem of violence and where it comes from and how to control it, etc.
Well, in the Bible, can you please, if you read the Bible right from the beginning, God said, or the Bible reported it, that people were born as angels. So the human being, they were conceived and they were born as angel or angelic spirit, and God helped with the Holy Spirit. That is the first point that you relearn, review. And the second one is, please note that later on, God said, God gave Moses 10 commandments, and one of them is that you shall not kill. So that is, God remind people that people were born as angels, and they will not be killed, whatever they got thrown into. That's why tonight I try to get this topic like figurative meaning, in a figurative meaning that alien is robots. If we think them robots, will be okay. So we don't get thrown into all the different arguments that doesn't have any basic sense. So we'll be safe. What I'm saying, I just try to be safe for all of us, and we don't have to go into that killing concept, because people were born as angels and the divine beings. We are the temple of God. So can you please just think about the Bible? That's all.
Thank you. And I see I think we have a lot of potential future speakers. Can I do see two hands up.
Siva Perry is there.
Yeah, Perry first. Okay.
Thank you. Once again, I had to agree with Asim in that he mentioned that these instincts within ourselves, I think it's explained because of the dual nature. That is, the body is has the animal nature, and the soul has the spiritual nature. So the animal nature of the human aspect will have those that will tend to do those kinds of things. And as he said, the religion is trying to teach us how to control it. But I also agree with Jung in one sense. When we say that we are created angel, I think that is referring to the spiritual aspect of it. So the nobility of our soul and its potential to become what it could be. In that sense, that is, we were created angel. And also I like to ask Marina, there are some new friends here. You could invite them for some comment at least, because we are not heard from them.
We have not heard anything from them. Yes, is that okay now, or you finished, Siva?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, is Paul, isn't it the name? Paul?
Hey, how's it going?
Yes, Paul, good to see you. I was wondering, how did you feel with today's meeting as the first time?
I think it's actually fantastic, and I look forward to being invited again. I think it's wonderful. I haven't come across this experience before, when I've found such wonderful people congregating from such diverse religious beliefs, but essentially with the one goal of being good people and with one role in making society better. So no, I'm getting a lot of value out of it. So again, I appreciate the opportunity, and in future, I think I'll become more vocal, and I might even show my face. But because this is my first time,
all right,
I'm just happy to look. But no, I think it's wonderful, and Colin gave such a wonderful speech, I guess. But the fact that you're combining so many diverse quotes from religions, which is essentially, the same thing, is great, and this discussion is even more valuable. So yeah, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for joining us for today, and we look forward to seeing you another time. And the other person is James. Is still there? No, keep this on mute. James? No. Okay. That's all right. Is there anyone else, Siva?
What is it? Ruhani, Natek.
I couldn't get their name either. Yes.
Natek Ruhani and Bena Somali. Yeah.
Bena, you go. Bena, she's on mute too. Hello, Somali. Hello, Bena.
Oh.
Hello. I'm sorry, I'm just using my mobile. I'm not used to using Zoom on mobile. Only on my computer. Yes, thank you very much, Colin. That was excellent. I enjoyed it, and this is my first time. I tried to join other weeks as well, but not necessarily I will be able to do that every time, but it was a pleasure to join you guys, and especially Colin for your beautiful and very prepared and thorough discussions and presentation.
Thank you,
Thank
Bernard.
you for the comments, and we look
I would
forward
like,
to
I would like Natere to say something. I invited her tonight. I would like her, I know she has lots to offer.
Oh, okay. So you would like her to give her a talk then, Sarah?
Hello, my name is Natere, and thankfully Zohre invited me to join you. It was beautiful presentation and the participation. Everybody taught me so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to hear your prayer. And we would like you to contribute in the future meetings as well.
That was very nice. All of you had so much to offer. That was very good.
Thank you, Nada.
Excuse me. My name is Tahere, and I am from Bulengan Baha'i community. And Bayan invited me to this meeting. It was very useful. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Tahere, for joining us. It's nice to hear. So you're at Bulongong?
Yes,
Baha'i.
from Bulengan Baha'i community.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
See you. Thank you. Of course.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Bye.
Steinway and Welland.
Keep inviting people, Siva.
Welland and Steinway Chu, can you please say something? Or at least.
Senway is on mute. And Velan is on.
Yeah, Steinway.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, this is my first time at this intercultural faith discussion. I know Colin just this year, and Colin and I are in together with James are in a study group, even though Colin and James have been, no, what I mean to say is Colin and James have been in the Baha'i faith for many, many years, and I'm just a newbie in comparison to them. I just joined this year. And the discussions that we have, even within people of similar faith, there is a lot of differing opinions. And because we do belong to the same faith and we have respect, empathy, oh, what was the other one, Colin? Trust.
Mutual trust, yeah.
Mutual trust. We were able to deliver, to have that discussion in a very friendly, robust, I think, robust and very open discussion about other religions, about our own personal beliefs, and about our beliefs within the realms of our faith. I think discussion is super important, because if we do not discuss, we will always be trapped within our own minds, within our own opinions and the limitations of what we have. We would be like the frog in the well. And I really appreciate that we have this platform to have discussions. And I think we cannot operate without those three things that Colin has outlined today. We all have a lot of things to say. Hopefully these discussions will continue on. Sorry, say that again.
No, I think that is some interruption.
Think about something, yes. And it's good to meet people. I mean, you've probably heard this so many times, but it's really good to meet people from all different religions, because I think for us to join a discussion like this, I think our hearts are already in the right place. We want to bring about good. We want to understand each other. Our goals are similar. I think it is okay for people to have differing faiths. Of course, why not? There is so much diversity. It's just like I like ice cream, you like chocolates, and there are people in the world who don't like ice cream and chocolates. How could they? But we all respect each other. We all have our own individual needs. And I think these individual needs are met by, perhaps by, we feel an affinity with different religions, perhaps. And each religion, of course, believe they are very correct. But, well, coming together and respecting each other will hopefully break down the barriers and boundaries, and maybe one day we will be very united and become one.
Thank you for that, Sandy. That's nice.
Possible.
Yeah.
Is that a high five from Neteri?
Yes.
No, I just wanted to mention that I really enjoyed, all of you are so open-minded, and I wanted to share a line that I learned from, I think it was Facebook or somewhere, that mind is like a parachute. If it is closed, we can't use it. So it should be open, you know, then we can learn from each other.
Thank you. Yeah, his true mind is like a parachute. Thank you for that.
There's Velen.
Velen is still on mute. He's on mute, yes, Perry. Velen. Hello, Velen.
I think he is.
Hello, Velen.
I think he must have gone.
In some.
Can I just say, Siva found me online, you know, in the last couple of days. Can I just encourage him to continue to do that? But Siva, don't limit yourself to that one group. I think it was a spirituality group or something on that online platform that you found me on.
Yes.
But I would put your invitation to a few groups, because I think this will be valuable to a lot of people. I mean, there's a Bible studies group on there. You can put your invitation on there, because it's, you know, it pertains to them too. It pertains to a lot of groups. Siva found me on Next Door, which is basically a community website. So I found him there, but I think, I'm not sure, but he may have limited himself to that one group, of which there are many. So I would market this.
Thank you.
In more groups, because there are so many more people that would be interested in this group, and I think they'll find it highly valuable, as I did. So thank you for finding me, and thank you, Marina, for hosting, and thank you, Colin, for your lovely speech.
Thank you, Paul.
Well done, Siva, for inviting new people into the group. It's a good interest you have, Siva.
Yeah, thank you for, I mean, he responded, and that is the important thing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, as he said, yeah, I will try and promote in many groups as possible. But when these thoughts and the actions good, then things will move in the right direction. And there are others who are doing the similar thing somewhere else.
There are so many interfaith groups happening, and also there are Christian and Jews and Islamic group. 3 of them there. They have so many activities as well. So this is one way that we can understand each other's religion and try to be united and see that what good we can do the community, or at least remove the prejudice we have. Though we say that we are like this, but still we have some sort of prejudice within us. So by participating in these groups, then we can slowly eliminate our shortcomings.
And this is
that's what I think.
Thank you. And this is the 35th meeting we have had, isn't it?
Yes, 35th, yes.
Yes, that's a well done. Thank you.
Well, that's all your participation.
But I am in another interfaith group as well. But when times goes on, we become as one family. It's just not only that we participate in their activities, and even we help each other in times of need or things like that. We don't see any difference. So I hope our group can also move towards that. And there what we do is each religious group that they come and present on a topic that is, for example, if it is life after death or even my spiritual journey, then that is also my the calendar or our holiday. That is there. You just see what your belief is. Nobody, no other religious people or other group, they can't say they know more than the other person. If someone says this is what we believe in, like, reincarnation in Hinduism, so nobody else will go and say no, that is wrong. So we just listen and learn from them. So that is, hope we can also move towards that and listen and learn.
And it helps overcome fear. I remember the first time I went into a church, I was a little bit frightened. I thought, what's going on here? Are they all united against me, or or something, or looking at me? Or what if they all kneel and I kneel and I'm not supposed to kneel because I'm not one of them? All these funny things go through your head until you actually get to meet people and actually just about whatever place of worship you go to, they do welcome you.
So we participate in Ramadan celebration or Christmas celebration or ordaining a minister. So we go to different activities and different religious places, and it is very, I have learned a lot in participating in that.
There is a there is a saying in Japanese culture. If someone is here from there, can correct me, because the kids are pretty much 18 hours or 16 hours on the phone, and headphones are plugged in, so they kind of like in a virtual world most of the time, except when they're sleeping. So one day, somehow the data network died in Tokyo, or in particular suburb of Tokyo. And then the boy came out of the room and then he spent the time with the parents. And at the end of the day says, "Oh, you're not bad people. I never thought of you." Come out. Yes, I mean, the idea is come out. Nobody needs to change their self. Nobody needs to do anything differently. Keep doing what you guys are doing, because end of the day, when any of us finish from this world, he or she will be responsible what he or she has accumulated, what they're going to leave here, and what they're going to take from here, the peace of mind kind of a thing. And then whatever happiness after that, but at least one thing is common. Everybody going to go one day, so go peacefully the way you like to go without harming others people.
Thank you.
Sachi.
No, I'd like to thank Colin for the speech. It was okay and nice. But otherwise, I have no comments because my views are different. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachi. And for those who don't know Sachi, he's written an excellent book about science. And I've read it, and worth looking for on Amazon.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the speech. Yeah.
Can you see the book?
Sorry?
Oh, you can't see the book.
Oh, yes. There it is. Yeah.
This is Sachi's book.
I believe in God and His nature.
We too believe in that God.
Actually, yeah, that is the ultimate. That's what Jesus referred as Father in heaven.
Yeah.
And so everything, because it is beyond everything. That's the ultimate last. That's my view, sorry. It's okay. It will take some time to come in with the youngsters, future generation. I hope so.
Well,
it was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very classified and very well presented. Thank you, Colin.
That's right. And I'm looking forward to hearing more talks, because I do learn something every week.
It's
Elizabeth is quiet.
Is she here?
Elizabeth.
I am here, yes, and I have enjoyed your talk, Colin. I've taken it all in, and no, I think it's very good that we learn off each other, and we learn how different religions have been interpreted, and realise that really they're all one. And when I go to school, I don't end up in high school with my primary teacher. So if you look at it in that way, God always sends a messenger, and we should know about all religions. This is not what God meant, I'm sure. We should know about all religions, but then men take over and we tend to put our spin on it, and it gets lost, and then along comes the next manifestation, and it takes the world a while to accept or understand. But the next prophet never annuls the last prophet. There is no such thing as that. And people have learned that since I became a Baha'i, I haven't grown horns and I haven't become terrible. And different ones are now asking me about what does the Baha'i faith believe in. And I think, yes, we are one. We're just at different levels. We appreciate, I still love my Christian teachings. I have no problems with that. But I also love the fact that I've moved on, and I can understand what Baha'u'llah is telling us, because he fulfilled my Christian beliefs and understanding and the questions that nobody could answer. So it's a journey. We all go on a journey, and we're all in the right place at the right time. And if God wants us to be here, we are here. If he wants us to be a couple of feet behind, so be it. But look, I think it's beautiful, and I congratulate all of you who participate and who have arranged this, because it is very lovely, and I thank you.
Thank
And
you,
yes,
Elizabeth.
I have been quiet, I know, but I've had a couple of other things on my mind today, but I have enjoyed the Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bayan,
Bayan want to say something.
Anyone else?
Unmute, Bayan.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. What I want to say, this is my own personal understanding about religions, that God Almighty, in all the religion, he never say you are better than the other. He says you are all equal, and he loves everyone. So if God Almighty in all the holy books saying you are all equal, how can I, as a human being in the earth, how can I say I am better than Hindu, or I am better than Muslim, or Muslim is better than Christian? How can I say that? This is my own personal logic, which I always discuss and tell to the people. The second thing I want to say, I always say we are fingers of one hand. If one of these fingers is not there, we cannot shake hands. We cannot hold something. We cannot grab something. We cannot, so we need all the fingers. So humanity, as a fingers of one hand, we need each other. So we have to live together in harmony and work together in peace and love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I think it was nice to meet and hear from a lot of people today. And we look forward to next Thursday. I think we got Jaspal Singh, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you, Marina.
yeah, thanks, Marina.
Anyone who has not spoken would like to say something?
No.
Otherwise, we can close the meeting.
Just a thank you to Siva
Thank you
and
very
Colin.
much.
Thank you so much. Please stay safe.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Be safe. Stay safe.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Great.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Maria.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Mr. Perry, and everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.